Hello, grade nines. How are we all doing? Mr. Cunningham here. Um, I guess it's time to move on. I'm not entirely sure um, how many of you will be able to access this and um, able to complete this assignment. But uh, I think it's time that we have something else to work on for English class. Um, Most of you, I think, are able to. I know that several of you have been set up with some technology recently to make it easier for you to do these things and access this work. So it makes sense to go ahead. If we were in school right now, or just in general, if things were normal, we would have done a little unit on poetic language, on poetic devices. And so I'm going to do the slideshow like this. This will be on YouTube. I will email you the link, and hopefully you are watching it and listening to me right now on YouTube. Anyway, if we were in school, I would have started with this, and we would have done some things around poetic devices and poetic language. So, going to make some changes. Obviously, we can't do it exactly like we would have, but we'll try to figure it out nonetheless. So, poetic devices are just you already all know, you may not know the names of them, but I guarantee you use these things in your speech for sure. And they're just essentially, it's just making things sound better, sound fancier. Okay, so our learning goal for today, for this next little bit, is we're going to start to identify several different kinds of poetic language and try to explain how they help reveal meaning. So explain why they're used, what they add to your language. Like, why do we use expressions? Why do we use similes? Why do we use metaphors? Okay, so there is a reason, and we're going to try to uncover that today, or in the next little bit. Okay? Okay, so consider the following. Shall I compare you to a summer day? Okay, what do you think that means? That means, if you think about a summer day, today is a beautiful, you know, summer day, I would think. It's bright, it's sunny, it's warm, there's a soft breeze. So if I was to compare somebody to a summer day, I think that would be a fairly positive thing. I think I would if I'm comparing someone to a summer day, I think I'm saying nice things about that person. Okay? So I could either say, "Shall I compare you to a summer day?" Or I could say, "I think you're great." Okay? Both of them are perfectly acceptable, except one uses a comparison and one forces you, the listener or the reader, to think about what a summer day is all about and how it could possibly compare to a person, and the other does not. The other just says, "I think you're great." Okay? So the first one is adapted from a very famous poem by William Shakespeare, a very famous sonnet, where he goes on to compare a woman to a summer's day. Actually, he sort of ends up saying that a summer's day is not a good comparison because it's not good enough, and there are bad things about summer days, and there's nothing bad about the woman. But anyway, um, that one uses poetic language and a poetic device in order to make its point um, better and more expressive. I think you're great gets the point across, and yeah, that's about it. Okay, so we want to figure out and we want to drill down on why poetic devices make your language better. Okay, so basically, this slideshow is going to go through a number of examples of poetic devices, poetic language, It'll give a definition. It'll give an example, and it'll try to sort of explain how and why these things make your writing better. Now, there are quite a few of them. I will go fairly quickly through the slides, but you can pause me at any time. I would suggest you write these things down. I would suggest you make a short note. If we were in class, I would be making you write this down in your notebooks, because I think it's helpful it'll not only help you remember them or learn them, but it will come in handy later on, because there's going to be a small little assignment where you need to sort of locate these poetic devices, and sort of identify them and tell me about them. So you'll need a list. Okay. Again, I'm going to go fairly quickly through the slides. Just pause me. It would be amazing if you could do this in real life too, but alas, you can't. All right. So, poetic language is basically poetic devices are language tricks to make your writing or speech more effective and more appealing, as I have just said. Okay, and I also already just said that you already use them in your speech, and I can guarantee you that you do. So what follows is a list, not a list, but a collection of poetic devices that you will be expected to know and demonstrate your knowledge of, as I mentioned before, with a little assignment. Okay, let's go. Personification is when you, as a writer or speaker, give human qualities to an object, animal, or idea. Okay, so what you do when you basically, that means that you're giving, and maybe it might help to skip ahead to the example there. Jeremy heard the last junior chicken calling his name. Okay, so the junior chicken is an inanimate object. It cannot call out to Jeremy for him to eat it. That's not possible. But instead of saying Jeremy was really hungry and wanted to eat, Jeremy was really hungry, we said Jeremy heard the last junior chicken calling his name. Okay, so that again is just it takes a fairly simple concept of Jeremy being hungry, and as the middle point there says, it connects Jeremy and that junior chicken using a human quality. So it sort of personalizes that, and it just makes it sound just better. It's just better than saying Jeremy was hungry. Okay. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, fun word to say, and a very simple concept is onomatopoeia is a word that represents a sound. It can mimic the sound of music without instruments. It can mimic the sound of animals. The word bark, the word woof for dogs, meow for cats, all of those are onomatopoeia because it's just a word that mimics a noise. And that is what an onomatopoeia is. So instead of trying to describe the noise with words, you just use a word that mimics the sound that you're trying to describe. This here is a link to I don't know if it works. Let's just try it here. Yes, it does. So this song was big a few years ago, and it's basically a song about onomatopoeia because it's a song about animal noises, and they felt like it was unknown what a fox sounded like. Anyway, we don't need to watch it. Super catchy song though. Okay, there's my YouTube channel. I may have screwed that up. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's onomatopoeia. Next up, we have hyperbole, which is an exaggeration for comic or dramatic effect. So you exaggerate wildly to get your point across. So, again, skipping ahead to the example there. Oh my God, Elena, I am literally starving. the person who says that, it's a very common thing these days. It's a very common sort of um, a common thing to use now. Obviously, whoever's talking to Elena is not literally starving, and the use of the word literally is important here too. Literally, the word literally means that it means that you are actually starving and you are going to die because you haven't eaten in a month or something. Okay, so we use that sort of hyperbole to get the point across. Again, I don't know why these are all food related, but somebody could have said, I am hungry, Elena. Or they could have said, oh my God, Elena, I'm literally starving. Okay, so that's hyperbole. So it creates a larger than life effect and overly stresses a specific point. That's why people do that, is because they really want to stress how hungry they are. So they take it to the extreme of, I am literally starving. Okay? Next up is our friend the simile. Now, a simile is a comparison of two different things using like or as. So what a simile does is it reveals something about one object by comparing it to something else. It's often used because it creates an emotional effect. So my example here, my hair is as tangled as grandma's yarn. That this might be a poor example for you, but my mother and grandmother were both are both actually avid knitters. Yes, my grandmother is still alive. She is 90, turning 99 this year. And just saying my hair is tangled or my hair is a mess is one thing, but adding it's as tangled as grandma's yarn creates a mental picture. If you're familiar with the process of knitting or seeing balls of yarn around, it creates a connection between those two things, and as it says here, creates an emotional effect. Okay, so it's just more, it's a fancier, better way of saying my hair's a mess. A metaphor is exactly like a simile, except you don't say like or as. You say it as directly, it's a direct comparison. So these metaphor and simile are kind of the most commonly known of the poetic devices, I would say. And they're very similar. They're very related, very closely related. So if I said, "Wow, Gabe, you really dropped the ball on that one," there is no ball. I'm just saying that Gabe messed up. I'm saying that Gabe screwed up, and in order to say that Gabe screwed up, I'm making a connection. I'm using an example, like a kind of a sports example, where it's generally bad to drop a ball in sports. It's a mistake, and so that's all I'm saying. Gabe made a mistake. He really dropped the ball on that one. Okay, so again, that forces you to make that connection. And some of these are so well used, like drop the ball is a very common expression. And you might not even think, you might just know that means he messed up. You don't even need to think about sports or anything. And that shows the kind of the power of a good metaphor, a good expression. It kind of moves past the point where you need to kind of think about it in that way. Consonants. Now, consonants is an example of poetic language that focuses on the sound of words. So when you speak, you're making noise, for the obvious statement of the day, and it's cool and it's effective if you can kind of play with your words in order to make it sound a certain way. So the example I have here is that all mammals named Pam are clammy. So there's a bunch of M's in there. And you'll notice that with consonants, it's not the beginning of the word. It's just the sound anywhere. So all the M's are bolded down here, and it just sounds cool. All mammals named Pam are clammy. It sounds neat and fun, and that's about the end of the explanation for consonants. That's just the way it is. And we're going to take a look at another related one here in a minute.